Sean. What have you done? It doesn't even matter that your friend Angela Rayner has come out in support of you. I look forward to Angela Rayner confirming that she's supportive of you after she's seen what I'm just about to share. You silly, silly boy.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Arood Shah, Abdul Jabbar, Sean Fielding, Shisha Bars, Riaz Ahmed, Buying Sweets, Chohan and Mushtaq, Land on the Cheap, Dr. Carolyn Wilkins, Under Attack, Another No Comment, Shabir Ahmed, Glodic Baths, Debbie Kashmir, On the Run, Don't Dare Complain, They'll Call You a Racist Son. The cartels control the postal votes and the paedophiles run free. Welcome to Oldham, home to corrupt councillors and their childhood criminal friends. And in control of it all, at the top of the tree, Jim McMahon, the samosa nibbling MP. Still silent on how he used the funeral of the butchered soldier, Lee Rigby. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Cartel Town. Grooming gangs. Postal vote fraud. Paedophile protectors. Still barefaced lies. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for all of you who dropped me messages today. I didn't expect that. I sent a message on this morning to say I'd been full of a cold, and I do get migraines. My friends will tell you I disappear when I get migraines because I've just had them for a long time, and the only way I can deal with them is by just going and sitting in a dark room and trying to fall asleep. So I've been out for most of the weekend. But we have an eventful, I'm still not going to call this a show. We have an eventful evening. We have, first of all, I need to say we've got a guy called Marc. Marc's coming on later. Very, very brave man. Marc resigned his Labour Party membership in disgust and has decided to stand against HOWARD SYKES in Shaw. Wow, unbelievable. Absolutely stunning decision. Very, very brave man. So Marc's coming on later. We were on there earlier to make sure the equipment worked. Whether it works when he comes on is another matter entirely. And then, of course, we've got... actually, I've been in Hayward. I was in Hayward before I fell ill last week, and I've got a video I need to share with you. I shared this video with the patrons on Thursday night, and they were in complete shock. They were speechless. In fact, all of them were speechless. Even I had Debbie on as well, and even Debbie was speechless. So... That's what that video exposes, I think is the right word. And finally, last but not least, yes, it is true I've commenced proceedings against Oldham Council. I don't really care. I'm done with them. You cannot have a council leader behave in that way on behalf of the council, sending out what you sent out, Sean Fielding, on council email, trying, as far as I'm concerned, and people can make their minds up. All I ever ask is for people to make their minds up and make a decision themselves. But the way I read it, you disgusting disgusting, disgraceful, despicable man. And I don't care if Angela Rayner's come out and backed you tonight and said, oh, what a great job Oldham Council is doing. I want Angela Rayner, after tonight's show, to come out and still back you. And then after what I release next time and next time and next time, because the victims are lining up one after another as to what Sean Fielding has done. But more of that later. Evening all, I can see 76 of you on my screen and some hello, so thank you very, very much. If your Facebook, if I post you up and it just says Facebook user, that's to do with your settings. You need to change your settings and allow Ecamm Live and Restream and all these things I use. You need to give them permissions, and then when I put your posts across, your name will come along with your post. And my friend Lee has just said good evening, and I'm going to put that up because I love this lady. Lee is the reason I'm still in Oldham. She gave me my first job, so it's all your fault, Lee. I was 21, and I was just leaving university, and I'd applied for a job, and I went to Turf Lane Community Centre. It was and the offices were in the porter cabins out the back, and Lee interviewed me for a job. I had no idea about what I was going to do, and she hired me, and then she sent me up to Shulver. So that was my first real job in Oldham, working up in Shulver, where I had fun with the old rag and bone man. It was I was definitely given an education up there. Anyway, let's move on. Hayward. When we talk about the Rochdale grooming gangs, those of us who have an understanding of what went on know many of the victims actually were from Hayward, which is a small town outside of Rochdale. And when I first started this releasing stuff on the mosque, really, this gentleman got in touch with me, and he had a tale to tell. And I wrote some notes down, and I checked it out, and what he told me added up, and he wouldn't go away. He kept coming back, and brave man kept coming back and said, Raja, I need to tell you this story. I really, really need to tell you this story. Can you come and meet me in Hayward? So eventually, and this was last week or the week before, I drove up to Hayward and parked on the high street and met this gentleman. And let me play the video, and you decide for yourselves what's going on here. Here I am in Hayward, about to meet one of my sources. Reached out to me probably about 3 or 4 months ago, connected to the cartels and connected specifically to this building behind me, which was a takeaway at the time. This was the building behind me. You can see the red frontage shutters. That was the building where so many of these young women were groomed and gang raped. So that's where I am, and yeah, shocking, absolutely shocking. And the more we uncover, the more this scandal grows.
Do not fear them. Do not fear.
So that was the first of the videos that I put up regarding Hayward, and I'll come back to the video at the end that I want to play for you because it's just astonishing. But I want to start by moving on to this. Brian phoned me this morning. So Brian Hobin called me this morning, and Brian said to me, Raj, could you do me a favour? If you don't mind, would you go on, and when you go on this evening, will you tell the people of Oldham that this is what I've sent to the Conservatives, and I've asked them to review it, revamp it, change it as they see fit, and if they don't like it, to come back with something. Now, he's put this up on his Facebook as well, so you'll have seen this. And the motion he wants is that Chief Executive contact the Home Secretary and the Minister for Housing, Communities and Local Government, requesting they instigate a full independent inquiry. The Chief Executive requests that the said inquiry be totally outside the scope of the present OMBC administration, with full legal standing and complete access to all relevant documents and departments within the Council. The Chief Executive write to the GM Mayor to advise that his review be suspended and all documentation obtained to date be handed over to central government-led inquiry. The council to nominate a member to work with the inquiry, acting as an independent conduit between all parties. This nominee would be responsible for reporting progress and any relevant findings back to the council at regular intervals. In order to reassure constituents, they should share updates with the wider public also. All information shared would be subject to legal processes and confidentiality measures. So, Brian drives taxis for a living, and he stepped forward to be a councillor. And I think he's done a really, really, really decent job with that wording. I couldn't, I read that and I smiled. I smiled when let me have me back up. I smiled when I read that. And I thought, Brian, you've done really, really well. What's happened? Roger, they haven't got back to me. I've sent them an email asking them to get back to me. It's been over a week. They haven't got back to me. They've not even acknowledged my email. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah, Roger, they've not even acknowledged my email. And this, let me bring this up so you can all see it. This is the email Brian sent. Should be on your screens now. They've not even responded. I'll zoom in a bit, give you something to look at. There you go. Not even responded. So I know I have friends of mine who are Tories. Actually, I have friends of mine who are Tories who work all the way up to number 10. So I do have Tory friends, but this isn't on, guys. Because you're now playing politics with the people of my town, and that's not on. You've come forward. Brian stuck his neck out, and at the very least, you should be responding to him. And that you're not responding to him is, it's not on really, is it? So that's where we are up to with Brian. So if any of you know any of the Tory councillors, I would ask that you please drop him an email, give him a phone call, and nudge him. Because we've only got this far because we've played this out in the open, and they haven't been able to do, and that's all the political parties, they haven't been able to do dodgy deals in dark rooms in secret. And we're shaming them. And we'll continue to shame them until they do the right thing by our children. Which brings me on to the next person I want to talk to you about. And I need to just bring this up. So this has done the rounds. I'm sure you've seen it. And this was by a man called Marc. And Marc has basically handed in his resignation with the Labour Party. And he's not the only one. I've been getting emails after emails after emails of ordinary working class Oldhamers who have had enough of the Labour Party because they are intelligent and they've worked out what's going on in this town. And the evasiveness from Sean Fielding, the refusal of Debbie Abrahams or Jim McMahon to comment on that leaked email. People in our town are not stupid. And they've had it. They've absolutely had it. Here you see his main concern is Oldham Council's handling of historic child grooming, sex abuse with the borough and its subsequent failure to, you can see, it's to do with inquiry. He's had it. He's absolutely had it. Marc again, commissioning of a wide-ranging independent inquiry. Why is it that the entire town wants an independent inquiry whilst the council don't? Oh, by the way, Newsman, the one of these experts that Sean Fielding was going on about, these superstar government-appointed experts, Type his name in Northampton in Google. You'll see he's mysteriously resigned from his role there in Northampton. He'd been brought in as a superstar, superhead, whatever they call them, to fix broken children's services, social services, and 2 years later, it's still in a complete mess, and he's mysteriously resigned. And one of the criticisms from a Labour councillor in Northampton was Newsman's unwillingness or reluctance to engage with the public or engage with the council and tell them what he has been doing. So there you go. It's not just us here. And that's a Labour councillor in Northampton saying, this guy hasn't been turning up and telling us what's going on. It's been 8 months and 9 months since Sean Fielding had launched this, the mayor, my mate, the mayor and his friends are going to fix all of this. And where is it? Mark also is very annoyed with Howard Sykes. Why? Who wouldn't be? 3 paedophile friends now, or colleagues, or whatever, but 3, and 2 of them, I've seen the footage. 2 of them he's declared as friends of his child sex abusers, and he's refusing to condone them, and he's refusing to say what he knew about them at the time. Cyril Smith, 20-year self-declared friendship, wasn't it, Howard? That's what I read in the front pages of the newspapers. Yeah, Rod Blythe, your friend, 25-year councillor. But the other guy from Saddleworth was a Lib Dem as well. And what is it with you Lib Dems and these guys and your failure to condemn them? They've been messing about with kids, and you're not saying a word. So let's try and get Mark up. So the way I need to do this is, fingers crossed it works.
Hello.
Hi. I can hear you. I can't see you yet.
You can't see me. What do I need to do?
Maybe turn your video on.
Okay.
I told you this happens, isn't it, Mark? Mark and I tried this out earlier, and
I'll tell you what. Call me back, and I won't answer my phone. I'll answer my computer.
Oh yeah, that would help, Mark. Do it the way we practice. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do it again.
Cheers, Raj.
No problem, mate. Let's try again. Hi, Mark, and we have still not got you on the screen, I'm afraid, but we've got you. We can hear you. So
there you go. You might have now. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. See,
technology.
Well, and let me do the bit I wanted to do beforehand. Look, because I spent 10 minutes doing this. So I put your name up, and proud of Oldham and Saddleworth beneath you, Mark, because you've met with these guys and you've decided you're going to stand with them. I think is that right, Mark?
That is right. Yeah. Just to give you my background, really, is I've lived in Shaw for the best part of 40 years. Went to the local schools, St Mary's, Crompton House. Always viewed it as my home. Always been a lifelong Labour supporter and former party member. But just hearing the stories that have been coming out of Oldham Council and the de-investment of Shaw, where I live as well. I mean, it's been asset stripped for a number of years. It just really got me thinking. And the big thing for me was being from a Labour background was they're doing this as a Labour council, and I just find it absolutely mind-boggling.
How long have you been a Labour Party member, Mark? I've not asked you this. So how?
About 3 years I rejoined. Okay. But I was particularly involved in the early 90s when I had more time on my hands and I was young. But like I say, I've always supported...
So you're a family man. You live in Shaw. You're married. You got kids.
Yeah, I'm married. My wife works for the NHS. I've got 2 7-year-old twins. Funnily enough, they're 8 tomorrow.
Pass on my regards, Mark, please.
Yeah, so I've always felt part of the community. But the more I started to learn what was going on, the more I just couldn't believe it, really. And then I had to reconcile that with thinking, well, this isn't about Labour. It's not about the Liberals. It's not about Conservative. It's about what's in it for them. And that really upset me. So I resigned from the Labour Party, which is fair enough. I put that out there. And somebody from the Labour Party got back in touch with me from the local Labour Party and asked could I go into detail. So I highlighted all these issues which everyone's well aware of. And as I got to the bottom of the letter, I thought to myself, it's not a question of why I'm leaving. It's why would you want to be part of it? Because these are good people at ground level. They're not sinister. They're just doing it off the back of some sort of misguided loyalty to, philosophies that are not being applied. So I think it was listening to you, and you suggested if anybody wanted to stand in Shaw, which has been severely let down by its councillors over the years, I took up the challenge, and you put me in touch with Paul.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think it's what I've said to people all along. I first met Paul after I first started making some noises, and I'd never met the man before. I did my own due diligence on him. He seemed a genuine guy. I met him, and I liked him. I think, he talks straight, and he doesn't need to do what he's doing. He's well off, and it's his hometown, and he just cares. I mean, that's all I felt about, Paul.
I did my due diligence on him because I've never heard of the guy. He's a popular guy, but he doesn't mix in my circles. And the first thing I thought is, if you were him, why would you bother? Why would you bother coming up against, all this opposition for his efforts and this, that, and the other? And then I spoke to him, and then I went to see him and other candidates, and the first thing that struck me was how normal they were. There wasn't any egos there. There wasn't any political ambition. It was just a group of people who'd had enough of what was going on.
So you met Gary Tarbuck as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
I have time for that lad. I'm going to go and knock on doors for him because this is a guy. His grandfather was the mayor of Oldham. And ex-serviceman. They call us racist. And I remember Gary telling me how he used to scrub NF graffiti off his grandfather's doors because he talked to people like me. So I'm going to go and knock on doors for Gary, and hopefully we'll take Hudson out if Hudson has the nerve to stand.
The thing that really got me was when I met him. Nobody talks about Brexit. Nobody asked what football team supported. There was just one focus: where do you live? Why do you want to stand? And what can you do if you get successful? And it was just about taking back our borough, taking back piece by piece our town, because it has become a self-perpetuating cartel. And it just, I'm just a normal bloke. I've got a busy life. I'm 46. I've got 2 7-year-olds. I'm getting, me and my wife work full time. But you've just got to say no. You've got to say I've had enough. So I'm prepared to give 100% to the effort to take back Shaw.
And you're standing against Howard Sykes, the leader of the Lib Dems in Oldham. He's on so many boards and all the rest of it. Last time I spoke to a Lib Dem friend of mine, he was on an absolute packet because of all the other bodies and stuff he sits on.
Well, it's
but the Lib Dem, my own Lib Dem friends say, he's so busy elsewhere, he's doing bugger all here.
You got to ask yourself with Shaw, because it is a Liberal stronghold. They've got a core vote, and that's because a lot of people don't vote. That's how they maintain the power. You've got to ask yourself, the people of Shaw, what have the Liberals or the Liberal councillors done in Shaw? Nothing. The only thing I can think of is about 25 years ago, they changed it, Shaw Town Centre into a one-way system. They did it that badly, they had to change it back again. I think it was 50 grand it rocked in as. You look at Shaw, the baths have gone. You look at Shaw, the youth centre's gone.
I worked in that youth centre. Yeah. My friend Keith and Jackie, I think, who lives in Shaw, both of them live in Shaw. Leona lives in Shaw. I worked in that youth centre long time ago. It was a lovely building.
Yeah, I took my daughter the other Thursday, was off because she wanted to see Shaw Market. And the look on her face, do you know what I mean? And you're seeing the money's there, the assets are there, they're just not being fought for. Yeah, the Liberals are very good firing off leaflets and where they stood next to road signs pointing, or they stood in front of community projects after the community's done the work. But, that's great. But I just think, they're taking the money. There must be money in it, as you say.
Well, when Jim McMahon was leader of the council, he was on close to £100,000 a year.
I mean, it used to be a vocation people did, didn't it? And now it's a career, isn't it?
I think I shared in a past transmission that I worked in Leeds for a stint, and I was up in Chapeltown and Hare Hills and Gibson and all those sorts of places, and I remember the best counsellor I met was a caretaker in the local college.
Yeah. Because it was around what was going on.
Yeah.
Like you say, Sykes. The thing about Sykes is, I think we're up to a quarter of a dozen paedophiles now he's been had close associations with.
Well, there's 3 that I know of. Three in Oldham, isn't there?
I'm not saying for 1 minute Howard Sykes knew what they were up to. That's between him and his conscience. But what I will say, for any individual out there, when it emerged something was wrong, either a conviction or post-death, if it was me, I'd be out there apologising to the Hilltops, saying, look, I had nothing to do with this. I don't know what's gone on, but as far as I'm concerned,
Mark, let me stop here and let me play a racial stereotype with you, right?
Yeah.
I'm an Asian guy. I'm a Muslim. I know, regardless of what some of these guys say, I'm a Muslim, and I'm Bangladeshi heritage. And can you imagine if 3 of my friends that I then did a eulogy about were found to be Al-Qaeda terrorists?
You'd be vilified.
What would the people think of me? They'd be demanding that I distance myself and I make clear what did I know at the time and and so why is it any different here? Why is it any different for this man?
I mean, I listened to the guy who was on last week, your guest from Shaw, Peter.
Peter Brown. Peter Brown had. I put his video up. Sorry, Mark. I put his video up, and last I checked, 7,000 people had watched his him giving it to the council, and that's
You should get a knighthood, in my opinion.
He's a brilliant lad. I think he's brilliant.
But it's not. I mean, the way Blythe dealt with him was just shocking. So I think the reason why Sykes has got away with keeping quiet about Blythe is, in reality, nobody's missed him. These councillors are just anonymous. I mean, you've got the Williamses, there's a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, who I think they stand in Crompton. When they won at the last local election, they're on Facebook drinking champagne. I mean, how can you reckon? I mean, have they won something?
The lottery?
Who's he drinking that?
Well, it is a lottery. Maybe it was a lottery win, Mark. Maybe for them, becoming councillors, husband and wife. Maybe it is a lottery win.
There was other things going on in Shaw in terms of how we're not being represented probably, and how we're treated as a cash cow. They won't invest in Shaw, but they'll build a load of houses on it. Now,
but what you've got in Shaw is the same what they've got in Saddleworth. You are a cash cow, and what you are is the houses go for a bit more money if they can build on it. It's a stuff building on the green belt because the house they can sell that, and that means the council tax rates are higher, but also the people who then move into those houses use the services less. So it's financially lucrative for them to keep the civic centre going. Yeah.
The fact that your roads are clogged and you can't get an appointment at your doctors or your schools are jammed is by the by. What I'm saying is, it's very easy when you're the leader of the opposition to make a few token votes against Greenbelt, but that's not where these things are won. You don't oppose planning by signing petitions and going on marches. You fight it in the courts. That's the reality. Now, what I'm saying is, if I'm elected, I think you get allowances. I don't know how much that is.
I think it's about 6,000 or 7,000, maybe a bit more for the lower level ones. Yeah,
I'm not in it for the money. So I'll donate all my fees received to Save the Shaw Greenbelt.
So let me get this clear. So what you're saying is, once elected, whilst Howard Sykes rakes in tens of thousands of pounds and is missing in action, you will openly back the no building on Greenbelt, because that's what that campaign is about. And with secondly, not only will you back it politically, you will donate all of the money you get, all of the allowances you get as a councillor to that, which to me is, it's to be applauded, Mark. Absolutely to be applauded.
I'm not here for the money. The only thing I can give is the biggest commodity in life. It's called time. There's only so many hours in a day. There's only so many hours in a lifetime. But I'm prepared to put everything I've got into this, because it's got to the stage where I can't walk through this town anymore without thinking bad about it, without thinking everybody in this town is being, shafted, you would say. So that's where I feel with it. I mean, look at this. Blythe was a councillor. He's not been on the books for, what is it, 8-9 months?
Oh no, I think over 2 years now he's not been on the books because he resigned mysteriously. Right. Then he got convicted in December last year, and now it's been 2 years. You've not. I mean, that's the worst. I mean, put aside the child. The fact that he is a convicted child sex offender. Just put that aside for one moment if you can.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
What we have is a councillor who has not been missed.
That's exactly what I'm saying. But has his money been missed? Because if I was HOWARD Sykes MBE or whoever, I'd be saying, where's that money? Why can't that money be allocated? You're not spending it. Why can't we have that money in a pot for this, that and the other? Do you see what I mean?
Fair point, So what you're saying is the people of Shaw have been denied a councillor for the best part of 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, yeah?
Yeah.
What was Rod Blythe's allowances?
Yeah.
And say it was 10 grand a year. You owe the Oldham Council owe the people of Shaw £30,000. Invest it back in our township. Yeah, they're not going to do that. They'll send it. They'll pay the Ghazali Trust some money to do something in Glodick. Is what they'll do. And I don't mean that in a racist way at all. It's just how it happens. I've seen how it happens. You've seen how it happens.
This corruption, which is centralised in the Civic Hall in Oldham, is affecting every borough of this town. Every borough. Even the ones that are heavily represented by Labour, obviously with the postal vote system.
You come to where I was raised, and I'm safe in those places, regardless what people say. I'm safe in Calder. I'm definitely safe in Westwood, and I sit there outside my friends' houses, have a take my flask and have a cup of tea and check on my aunties and all that, and people stop and talk to me, and they say, "You're doing what we're not allowed to do. You're doing the things we want to do, but we can't because we'll get in trouble if we did it." And that's the message I get in those places. Everyone is losing because of the cartels and because of this Labour Party.
The difference, because it is a split town, we know.
They've made a split, haven't they?
It works for them. Is one side of the town are being forced to vote, and then the other side of the town can't be bothered. But it's the same apathy, and that needs bringing together without doubt. If everybody knew what we know. There'd been absolute outcry, and the reason you come under such attack, and the reason why these normal, average people who are standing for proud of Oldham and Saddleworth are taking so much abuse, is because they're terrified of it getting out. They're absolutely terrified of people knowing the truth.
They call us racist, and I'm like, here I am, an Asian bloke, you're a white bloke, and we're chatting to each other, and we got so much common ground. And what I say to everyone is, if you took the Labour Party's racism and divide and rule approach out of it, most of us would not only get on, most of us would want the same things for the town. Yeah. And we'd work together to get it. I
mean, apart from one request for some information regarding my resignation, I've heard nothing. But that's how the Labour Party operate. If they don't acknowledge a problem, there isn't a problem.
So I will share with you what I know about the Labour Party in Shaw. And I know I've seen your email, but I'll share with you what I know. The Labour Party candidate in Shaw is a friend of mine. He's called Maroof, right? If anyone follows me on Facebook, they'll see me regularly tease Maroof because Maroof regularly posts about the Labour Party. He's always putting up pictures of him and Jim together, or him and some of the cartel guys together, or him with Keir Starmer or Ed Miliband. He is what he is. Maroof's always been like that. But he's a friend of mine. He's a kind heart. And he isn't cartel. Even though he's affiliated with him, he isn't cartel. But Maroof Maroof never wanted to be councillor in Shaw. Maroof lives in Werneth, in Medlock Vale. He wanted to be a councillor in his own community, which is one of proud of Oldham and Saddleworth's positions, isn't it? You represent the communities you come from. You live in. So Maroof didn't want to be a councillor in Shaw. The problem is Maroof can't get into Werneth. He can't get into Medlock Vale because the cartels have got the seats sewn up, because Maroof doesn't belong to a cartel big enough to deliver a big enough block vote to get us, to be recognised in that area. So he came to Shaw. Now this is what I also know about when he came to Shaw. The Labour Party couldn't even attract suitable candidates in Shaw, and it was left between Maroof and another guy. I forget his name, but there's another guy. It'll come to me.
They both got chosen. For Sean Thompson.
But that's it. So you've got you've got a Pakistani guy and a Bangladeshi guy who are the ones who can't get into the cartel-controlled areas they want to get in. And the only people who stood for the Labour Party in Shaw and in Crompton, no one local. They couldn't get anyone local. I mean, what does that say about the Labour Party in a working-class town?
Well, the local Labour Party will put over the position that they chose of candidates. Well,
there were only two of them. It's like me going to the supermarket and buying whatever's left on the shelf.
Yeah. No, it's just... And like I say, I'd spread this across to other grassroots people of all political parties. They're doing it out of a conviction, out of a belief, but that belief is not being represented. Fielding's no more of a socialist than your Adolf Hitler. When you look at the way he behaves, when you look at his actions, and you look at it's not a socialist utopia we're living under. It's a corrupt cartel.
It is a corrupt cartel.
It's about maintaining the status quo.
That's exactly what it's about. And they don't care what they do. White working class girls, so what if a few get raped? If it means that our core vote isn't disrupted, so what if a youth club gets shut and it's got or a swimming bath is sold to a dodgy developer? As long as we keep getting the votes.
Howard Sykes can eulogise in the council chambers or at the pulpit about people he's had long-standing relationships. That's fine, but the minute it comes out how diabolical they behave, whether I mean, like I say, I'm not accusing him of knowing, but he's known 3 now. Maybe the police should use him as bait.
Well, there's Buckley. Yeah. There's Buckley. There's Rod Blythe, and there's Cyril Smith. And Owen, Lord Owen John, he said he's been forced to resign after the independent inquiry into child sex exploitation, or whatever the formal term is, dragged out of him that he knew. He knew that Cyril Smith was a child molester. Yeah. Now, if he knew that Cyril Smith was a child molester, I'm sorry. I keep going back to that. I'm not calling him any names. And before someone else wants to sue me, I'm not making any accusations. Yeah. But what I am clearly asking is, come on, Howard, what did you know about Cyril Smith? Why haven't you made that clear? What did you know about Rod Blythe? What did you know about Buckley? Come on, man.
Even a formal apology from his association. You'd expect that. I hear people, I'm not as unfortunate as Howard Sykes because it's never come to light. I've known a sex offender, but if somebody in your family popped up or whatever and, it turns out straight away you'd be on Facebook going, I'm absolutely appalled. I don't condone, disown, distance myself. I gets the justice he deserves, blah, blah, blah. No, nothing, silence. After he stood up and eulogised Blythe in the council, saying what a marvellous councillor he was.
So at this point, I am convinced he would have been told why Blythe would have been arrested and resigned.
Without doubt. You would have thought Blythe would have told him, or maybe not, but he would have been informed. Yeah. Without doubt. Certainly when he was charged.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. And this eulogy was after he was charged because he resigned after he was charged or after he was suspended, then he resigned. Yeah.
To stand there knowing that, saying them words, who's he taking for mugs?
And to make it worse, Sean Fielding is refusing to comment on 2 current Labour Party councillors who've stepped down. One was suspended and one mysteriously stepped down. Now, I've heard all the rumours. And he's not making it clear as to why these councillors have gone.
There's no transparency. There's no honesty. There's no transparency. And this is, like I said, if I go back to Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth, the key thing is there is no whip. There is no structured format to say, this is our strategy in terms of across the board. It's basically, you focus on your area that you live in, that you stand for, and we see what comes out of it. You've heard about Labour councillors being suspended for voting in their interests of their own electorate.
So what happened with Steve Hewitt? And I know Steve. Steve voted against the valleys in the development in Groton, in Saddleworth, Leeds in Saddleworth West or whatever the area is, political area, sorry, and he got suspended. Yeah,
but and like you say, to take me after the guy because he's got a morality there that he's got to face the people in the street. That's, if I'm a councillor in Shaw, I'm in Shaw. I'm walking around Shaw. I'm shopping in Shaw. You're there with the people that you're representing. You're not distant, and I'm not living in Wearmouth or wherever, where I could just pop in every now and again.
Well, they don't want to be. They don't want to represent Shaw.
No.
They want to use Shaw as a stepping stone in their political careers, and that's what sets you apart. And it's what set Gary apart that I had on the other week. Is that you guys are not politicians. The same with Brian. You guys are representatives and champions of the communities in which you live in which you raise your families in,
exactly.
where your children go to school in.
Yeah.
If the community centre shuts down, or if the doctor's surgery something isn't right, it affects you directly.
It does. It does. And like I say, I've got 2 7-year-old twins. They go to a local school. It's their future as well, really. And to see how this town, Shaw, has degenerated, it's shocking. And there's money here, it's not all on the burdens of poverty. There's money in Shaw. With some of the highest council taxpayers in the borough. Now, obviously, that gets distributed on a fair basis, but we want to see some return for that. We don't just want to have land plucked. And it's not about development. There is good development. What they're doing on the old steelworks in Shaw is a good idea, as long as it's what we need, affordable housing. There has to be a balance. It's just...
But they don't want affordable housing. They just want to... It's like going to the bookies, I suppose. I'm not a gambler. But, when you're chasing your losses and and then you're going back home, pawning the wife's jewellery, pawning the children's this, that, raiding the university savings. And that's what this council are doing.
This town, and I'm talking Oldham, need investment. And you don't get investment by writing begging letters to government saying... With this and with that, and we need this, that, and the other.
But it wasn't even a begging letter. That letter was provocative.
Yeah.
It's not. It wasn't sent in the spirit of partnership or offensive.
No.
It was just provocative.
Yeah, point scoring. Yeah. What you need to do, you need to get investment from business, job. I mean, look at Shaw. The places that have gone, the local employers that have gone. I mean, fortunately, we've got Asda, but I believe they've rinsed them to some tune to get them in. Sainsbury's pulled out. But you look at Littlewoods, what fight was there?
No, gone and so many of my friends paid their way through college and university in the early stages of life working in that place. Yeah.
We've all done that picking and packing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of them. And I thought long and hard about it. And obviously my wife had concerns because obviously when you put yourself to something, you do it 100%. It's not a token thing, this, where, like Howard Sykes MBE does, where, you very rarely see him round Shaw. Yeah, you'll get a leaflet when it's election time with him pointing at a road sign or a pothole, whatever. But, you've got to put your time into it and you've got to be committed. And I've decided, I am.
Brilliant. No, absolutely brilliant. I'll come and knock on some doors with you. Absolutely. If you want me, I'll come and knock on some doors. Yeah. It's an offer to all of the independent candidates. If you want me, I'll support you. If you have any events and we've got rid of COVID by then and you have any forms of hustings or any sort of gatherings where you need me to speak and share all of the things I've found, I'll come and happily do that, and I'll do that because I care about you guys and I think, you're brave. I say it all the time. I couldn't be a politician and I have nothing but admiration for guys like you who've stepped out of your comfort zone and said, enough is enough. Enough is enough. This is our town and we're taking it back.
Yeah, I never had any inkling to do it. I think the key thing is getting out there what's been going on, the truth, because people are just totally oblivious to it. I mean,
so what do you make of that? I mean, you and I have never met. We had a text conversation a couple of weeks ago when you contacted me on Messenger, the same as lots of other people do. Yeah, and I sent you towards Paul Boots. I said, if you're thinking of standing, go and speak to Paul and make your own mind up. And today was the first time we actually saw each other. When we just tested the equipment. What do you make of all the stuff I've released? What's your you're an intelligent man. What do you?
Well, there's a saying. Then there are them that are blind, but not as blind as them that won't see. And I was in the latter category because some of the stuff I'm thinking this has got to be fiction. It can't. And
I am a writer of fiction. I'm clear on that. I do write fiction.
I've got friends who work in accounts, and I've checked with them and gone, "Is this? Oh yeah." Yeah, it's common knowledge. You know, it's not like some secret vault you managed to blow your way into. It's happening. It's in public. It's out there. And the more and I just thought, how? Because they're not clever with it. And I'm just thinking, you know, in this Sean Fielding, and then you see the behaviour of the leader of the, you know what I mean, of the Labour Council, the way he behaves, and you just can't get your head around it. So I fact checked a lot of it, obviously, and it's like Pandora's box. It's what you're seeing is horrible, but you can't stop looking. And I think everyone out there, if they had just a small shed of light of what was happening in there, they'd be uproar. But what it is, what we do is, like with national politics at the moment, we just dismiss it. We all know it's crap, but we just get on with it. We'll just pay our rates. We'll just moan about it a little bit and just get on with it.
Well, this is the thing. Go on. Carry on.
Sorry. I'm not asking people to join me on marches. I'm not asking for people to deliver leaflets or this, that, and the other. What I'm asking people, and you can make the difference, is just vote.
And that's how we take our town back. This is what I say to everyone. Oh, let's go on a march. Let's have a protest. Let's do that. No, lads, girls, let's vote. Let's politically mobilise. Let's find some people like you who are brave enough to come forward, and let's back you with everything we've got, and let's take this town back from these. And I'm not mincing my words. The Labour Party is anti-working class. It protects paedophiles. You know, it divides and rules and promotes racism. It's the most divisive group of politicians, most corrupt I've ever seen in my life. And that's not going to change. The only way these people change is by we saying we've had enough, and we're not drinking your Kool-Aid anymore.
I'll say this: if there's any Labour voters listening, it's not representative of you how these people behave. But, you know, someone of Labour principles like me, and I know you, Raj, as well.
Yeah, I'm a Labour Party guy, regardless of what they say, you know.
If you look at the way this, there's no level, on no subject, that they represent the spirit or actions of the Labour movement.
No.
So how can you vote for them? Just out of your own conscience, how could you vote for them? So I took the decision, rather than just not vote, just resign from the party, because I'm not having them doing it in my name. Because
you're right.
The
Absolutely
Central
right.
Labour Party won't do anything about it. Burnham won't do anything about it, because they're all in on it.
I think they are. And if you look at Burnham, you know, and you look at what's gone on there with the grooming gangs and stuff, 7 or 8 months he's had it. There's not even been a statement or an update. How is that reasonable?
I don't know. I just feel, particularly from Sean Fielding point of view, is if I was in his shoes, the first thing you'd be asking for is an independent inquiry, and you'd be saying, look, let's get this out in the open, because he's not doing the Asian sections of the community any good.
Well, it works for them, doesn't it? Because I speak to my Asian friends all the time, so I still have Asian friends and family, and they still speak to me, thankfully, because otherwise I wouldn't get fed, Mark. So that's I have very selfish reasons why I need to maintain these relationships. But I mean, what's very, very clear is that there is no one I know from my community, you know, this brown-skilled Muslim community, who wants anything to do with these child grooming paedophile scumbags. And
because we don't know the facts of it, it'll only be a handful of people, potentially. But how it's being handled... But
they're powerful. The thing is, these guys are powerful.
It creates suspicion, which is what they want, that from the white perspective, they'll think, well, how deep is it? There must be thousands, and they're all in on it. And it's like I say, if I was an Asian, I'd be standing up screaming from the rooftops and saying, not in my name, let's out these people. We want
I am. I think I am.
But so that typifies it, because like I believe, it suits all sections of Oldham Council, no matter what party, apart from the independent guy.
Brian, top bloke.
To have this divide in Oldham, it suits them. It suits them. Now, like I say, I'm from Oldham. When I go around the world or wherever, I always say I'm from Oldham. You know, I did well out of Oldham. I did all my university stuff. I left school with no qualifications, but further down the line, I did all stuff.
You went back,
yeah. And it was funded. I got really good rates because at the time there was a lot of investment in Oldham for obvious reasons. So, you know, I feel a part of it. I wouldn't, you see what I mean? And like you say, it's just shocking how well we've all been taken for mugs, and people like yourself who do come out and point out facts, and I say facts because you've either been sued or in jail. Yeah.
Well, I am being sued, but I mean, I'm being sued for apparently calling Riaz a paedophile or insinuating he's a paedophile. I haven't. I want to know, like I suppose the rest of the town wants to know, why he gave a young man money, and the Labour Party, in its investigation, accepted his defence, which was everyone gave that man money. Because you didn't give this man money, I didn't give this man money.
Right, no, that's how it works. Yeah, okay. Everyone was at it, so no, it's like I say, it's just one of them, and like I feel, talking to people like yourself and talking to Paul, talking to friends about this subject, talking to people passing and whatever, it gives me great satisfaction and hope that everybody knows it's wrong.
And for me, your campaign, I see the headline as far as I'm concerned: vote for Marc or vote for a paedophile's best mate, because that's what he's not denounced. Sorry, mate, he's not denounced him. Like I go back to the Asian analogy. If I was a counsellor, and my best mate was an Al Qaeda convicted terrorist, and I'd refused to call him out, and I'd been supportive of him, there is no way anyone would be going out and voting for me. In fact, I'd probably get deselected.
No, well, you'd probably end up in the sun.
Yeah. You'd be on the front page, wouldn't you? You'd be on the front page, wouldn't you? I'd be on the front page. Like, look at this counsellor, you won't. Yeah.
Well, so, like I say, it's just the silence is deafening. And I've thought about it. I've tried to give them the benefit of the doubt and thought, come on, rack your brains, Google it. What have they actually done for sure? Think of something. And it's just drawn a blank.
The Lib Dems have had a stranglehold on Sean Crompton, haven't they? I mean, it's been the centre of power, hasn't it?
It's been there because of the disconnect Labour have had with the working class vote.
And the working class vote refused to go and vote Tory. So
exactly.
The Lib Dems picked them up on that.
Whatever. But really, what I want to say is, okay, who you vote for nationally is one thing, and this is where you need to disconnect it as a person. Who you vote nationally is one thing. Local elections are something different. Because if you vote in Labour in a local election, it's not relating to their national policy. It's a local corruption that you're buying into. So people need to put that aside. We need a fresh start. And what
is their national policy? Because it's my party, and I know I've had problems with them, but they're still my party. And I look at them, and I look at Keir Starmer. He exaggerates his working class heritage,
and makes it up.
Yeah, well, there you go. And then they're still going on about Brexit. They're still going on about finding some way to get rid of Brexit and having this second referendum or something. They're still going on about that.
The problem where the Labour Party's lost its way is they forgot about the feelings of the core voters, and the opinions of the core voters, and it was almost like condescending, saying, "No, we know best." Yeah, you voted wrong, so what we'll do is we'll give you a chance to vote right, and that is
right to the end. Angela Rayner and Jim McMahon were voting to scupper, Brexit. Yeah. But, I voted Remain, by the way. I voted Remain, but I lost. I'm a Democrat. Lost.
Yeah. You've got people voted for different reasons, and I think what the focus on with the Labour Party was they were too wrapped up in this middle class focus bubble.
Well, I call it the fake liberal privileged metropolitan elite.
Because the Labour Party nationally, just like they do locally, they take you at the bottom and take your vote for granted. Yeah. And the look on the face, because I'm not being funny. I mean, it was a choice between jumping off a cliff or jumping off a cliff at the last election, and the amount of Labour people have made that protest vote and gone, for what you think about the Tories, they've said this, they'll leave, and that and the other.
Well, what I liked about the Tories last time round was the Saddleworth candidate was a local lad. Tom Lord, barrister, done good, left the town, and he wanted to come back to the town and serve the town. Now, I don't care what your politics are on the national scale. Yeah. If you're a local lad and you've come back to serve the town, I'm going to back you. And you know why he lost? He lost because Debbie Abrahams swept up with the postal votes in Glodwick.
Right. Okay.
He won in 7 of the 9 wards. Yeah. The 2 wards that she won, Alexander and St. Mary's. St. Mary's is Glodwick. And she got so many votes in the massive postal votes. That's how she won. And of course, the first thing she did after she got elected, off to Kashmir.
Yeah, I mean, I've never met Debbie Abrahams. I mean, she's instantly annoying.
Well, she calls me a dangerous man, which I need to complain about, actually. She shouldn't be calling me a dangerous man to other people.
Her husband's a fantastic bloke, though, great cricketer. I must get that on record. But yeah, no, Deb, I mean, you go back with the Labour. I mean, when I was first involved, it was Alan Brett, and it was a fight against Chris Davis and Geoffrey Dickens, that sort of era. And then obviously Phil Wallace and this. I mean, the way they treated Phil Wallace, the party is despicable, in my opinion. When they put him through sort of a kangaroo court. And
well, he got done. I mean, he got exposed and made a scapegoat for doing what the Labour Party had been supporting anyway. You know, it was Labour. Winding up white people to hate Asian people has been a Labour Party strategy in this town, and vice versa for decades.
For decades. So, it's just one of them. But like I say, I'm not focusing on national politics. I'm just not. That's too much of an headache for anyone to take on board. But what I'm absolutely committed and focused on is Shaw and fighting for Shaw. And, just like the guy did, the other independent guy, when the people know he stands up in that chamber, he's speaking for them. Brian
Oban, absolutely. He phoned me this morning, to check how I was, because I'd posted I'd not been well. And he was off out on his taxi runs, because that's what he does for a living. And that's what I want my councillors to be. Yeah. Real men, real women in real jobs, where they're constantly in contact with the folk of the town and the fingers on the pulse. They're not professional politicians like Sean Fielding or Jim McMahon or Debbie Abrams or Howard Sykes. We need people to represent us, who care about us first and foremost. They have an understanding of the town, they have an understanding of the communities, and they want the best for their people.
Yeah, I mean, they turn around and they call you a popularist or anything like that. And
they call they're starting to call me the people who support me rabble. And Sean's been researching now. So the people of Oldham are apparently rabble. Raj's rabble apparently is the latest term. Yeah.
It's just like, just trying to label you. And like I say, they say populist, but I take that as a compliment, because I would have thought that's what democracy is about, having the popular view amongst the electorate. Not like they turn it around. No, you shouldn't think like that. You shouldn't, you should vote for this and that and the other. No, it's about putting the people you represent first. And like I say, this with the guy on last week and the trouble he had. Basically, the councillors lying about him, the Shaw councillors, Blythe, and it just, I mean, you just couldn't make it up on any level. And they're happy to say they're representing you. So,
I think they're finished. I honestly think the writing's on the wall, not just in Oldham, but in towns like ours, where the Labour Party, the Lib Dems, they're all, there's nothing that really separates any of them. You look at Hudson. When Hudson gets up and speaks, he might as well be a Labour councillor speaking. When Howard Sykes says anything, there's no passion in anything he's got.
No. All they want to do, they're all in it. They're all doing well out of it. They just want to maintain the status quo.
Let me just say hello to a friend of mine.
Forever, as far as they're concerned.
Jackie Martin, I've just put up. She'd rather be part of my rabble than a Labour voter. That's because Jackie and I used to play hopscotch and Kirby together when we were about 3 or 4 years old, and I got in trouble because I stole her fireman's helmet. I've got a picture where I'm fighting. One of my oldest pictures of me with my old man is we're fighting over a helmet, and the helmet didn't belong to any of us. It belonged to Jackie. So that was her. So I needed to put that up. She lives your way, I think. So she lives closer to it. People will vote for you, Mark. People will, because people can see what you are. You're like us. You're a working class bloke who cares about the place he lives in. And I don't care if you've not got a degree in politics or you've not done an internship for some MP. You care about, I don't care if you don't know the rules. Right? Because Sean Fielding clearly doesn't know the rules, and he's the leader of the council. All I care about is someone like you stepping forward and saying, you know what, I've got a family, I've got to raise my kids in this town, and I need to be the difference. No one else is going to come and rescue us, Mark. We're going to have to rescue ourselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So there I go, onwards and upwards to say. But like I say, when I see, just... I never hear, and no matter where you are, I never hear any good news about Oldham. I never hear any positives. I never, You know, it's just negatives, 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 and all they do is they just bite back. They're just reactionary. The council, you know, it's all lies, or it's this, or it's that.
Sean Fielding wrote, I know my information, and if I'm wrong, I apologise, but I don't think I'm wrong on this. Sean Fielding sent an email out to all of the councillors informing them that a certain councillor had now been reinstated. You know, to all the Labour.
Yeah.
He'd not even told them that this certain councillor had been suspended in the first place.
Or why?
Or why? Yeah, or why?
More to the point.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so they're not even honest with themselves, are they? You know, to that respect. So yeah, it's going to be.
So I put something up, and it's amazing. This lady Marissa is a friend of mine, and I think she lives in the States now. So we've got people from all over the world who tune in and listen to what we've got, because people have left Oldham. You know, so many people have left Oldham, but still have a sweet stop, you know, for the place, and check in on the town, and they want that. They want to stop hearing another mistake, another this got gone wrong, another stupid thing has happened in the town. We remember this town as a beacon of working class industry, and a place where, you know, honest people, you know, hardworking, honest people lived, and we want that back.
Yeah, I mean, to say the biggest problem in this town is, like I say, a lack of investment. But why would you want to invest in Oldham when you're looking at Sean Fielding and the deputy leader, you know, antics? Why, you know, what message does it send?
Arood Shah's sidekick, I mean, I'll share this with you, but people share me all the tweets and things, has gone out. So, you know, the Dale Cregan's getaway driver has posted on Facebook where he's criticised the police, he's criticised council officers, he's criticised social services, he's criticised anyone and everyone in the public sector, essentially, for refusing to support Arood Shah sufficiently. Now, my thing is, Arood, people are going to be disappointed and make judgments, whether you like it or not, if you declare your loyalty to your childhood friend who was the getaway driver of a cop killer. And if he hadn't been the getaway driver, those two policewomen, one of them from our own town, would still be alive today.
Yeah.
And add to that, all the grenades and bullets were found in Glodick.
Yeah, I mean, it beggars belief, doesn't it, that, you know, a so-called deputy leader, you know,
and works for Jim McMahon.
Openly associate themselves with that sort of people, because it's like the thing with Sykes as well, isn't it? You know, you might not be guilty of the crimes, but, you know, you're mixing with people who are. And the reality is,
you're refusing to distance yourself. You're refusing to. Yeah. You know, when I was in my early 20s, and my friends will share it. You know, if you ever speak to them, they'll share this with you. I found myself in a serious position. In my mid 20s, I found myself in a serious position, and I moved house. And I moved away from people who I was around or who could be around me that were trouble. And that wasn't because I was leaving them behind, but because I was put in a position with responsibility and influence, and I needed to do the right thing for all of us. So I removed myself, because we all grew up, you know, I grew up in the ghetto, same as Arood Shah and all, you know. And I grew up alongside heroin dealers and all that, but I removed myself from them.
Well, because you're not prepared to compromise. No. Yourself or your morals or this, that and the other, and you know, and these people clearly are. They view it as a badge of honour.
Yeah.
Knowing these type of people.
Yeah.
You know, and like I say, the thing in Shaw, I mean, the abdication of any sort of local leadership within Shaw.
But none of the others have come out. None of the others have come out. None of the other Lib Dems have come out. Sam Al Hamdani, he stood to be the MP for for your so as well as a councillor, he stood to be the MP, and he's not even come out and said anything about Rod Blythe.
No.
Why not? Why can't you say we apologise to the people? We should have told the people.
Or even acknowledge it. Even you know, that's the biggest criticism. It's just not acknowledging it. You know, like we're all idiots, and you know, by them not saying anything, we wouldn't know. You know, like I say, the only reason Blythe's got away with not being seen for God knows how long is the fact that he was useless in the first place.
Yeah. Okay. Mark, I wish you well. Thank you very,
Thank you very
much. You're welcome anytime you want. So I think what we're going to do at some point
keep you updated.
Is when we get a few more independents come forward. And this is the other reason I want you on. People, look at Mark. He's an ordinary working class bloke. Ordinary working class women, men, I don't care. Come on, this is your town. You've got to be like Mark. If you want to rescue this town, if you want to take it back to what it once was, you've got to wrestle it out of the hands of the Labour Party and the cartel. It's as simple as that. Now, I know we won't win in Glodick. I know we won't win in Coldust. I know we won't win in Werneth. But we can win everywhere else. We can take our town back. Come on.
Yeah.
Mark, last words. Come on.
Well, the only reason it's the only way it'll change is to change it. And the only way you're going to change it is to change the people involved. Because at the moment, they're all in collusion. It's a self-perpetuating organisation, and they're all in it. It doesn't need fresh people going into the broken system of party politics at local level. It needs independents going in. People who are accountable. People you're going to see with his shopping baskets in Aldi, in Shaw. You know, people you're going to see walking up and down Market Street. People who you're going to see trying to raise funds to fight the bulldozing of our Greenbelt, which once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's just this asset stripping of Shaw. No one can tell me, anybody who tell me who's lived in Shaw for the past 20 years plus, can walk down the high street and gone, apart from a Wetherspoons, what you know, and a lot of pubs have closed on the back of that. I might say, Shaw Town Centre, you know, it's a ghost town, and I think, you know, people want to be part of where they live. They don't want to be driving miles and miles and miles to get some service or whatever. The doctors in Shaw moved. You know, there was no fighting for that. There was a bit of token fighting for the one on Trent Road. But standing in front of something, getting your picture took, doesn't resolve anything. It needs action. And it needs people who are prepared to stand up in council chambers, go against the grade. No, I don't. That might be right for the Manchester Labour executive's viewpoint, but it's not the viewpoint of the people I'm representing. They don't want another 6,000 houses or whatever it is. They're getting rinsed enough now for the council tax and not getting value for it, in my opinion. You ask anyone what they get for the council tax, and they'll just say they get the bins emptied irregularly. So that's it. I do think, and I'm putting myself forward, not because I've got any ideas of grandeur or any motivations to one day, you know, whatever. It's not about that. It's just about, and if it isn't me, and I don't do it, I just hope someone will step up next time.
No, Mark, it's going to be you. You're going to take him out. I have every confidence, and you know, and I'm pleased to have met you, and I look forward to meeting you in real life. Yeah, brilliant.
Pleasure, Raj.
Mark, prospective candidate for proud of Alderman Saddleworth in Shaw. Thank you very, very much.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Okay, so I am trying to do something on the fly here. The fly is not the right term, so I need to try and find a video for you guys to watch. So my fault, sorry. I need to unlock that, I think is what it's telling me. So I unlock that, I press that, I choose a file. And what I want is this. Here I am in Hayward, about to meet one of my sources. Reached out to me probably about 3 or 4 months ago, connected to the cartels and connected specifically to this building behind me, which was a takeaway at the time. This was the building behind me. You can see the red frontage shutters. That was the building where so many of these young women were groomed and gang raped. So that's where I am, and Yeah, shocking, absolutely shocking. And the more we uncover, the more this scandal grows.
Do not fear them.
Into it, and there was another mattress wedged.
Were groomed and gang raped. So that's where I am. And yeah, shocking, absolutely shocking. And the more we uncover, the more this scandal grows.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
This corner of the upstairs area, there was 3 mattresses down the side of the gable end. When I came in and found them. At the back of the building, there's also another room where you step down into it, and there was another mattress wedged in the door. So to gain access to the upstairs, about 2/3 way into the shop, there's a doorway which is on the right hand side. The doorway was locked with a fairly hefty padlock. Now the only people that had access to that padlock was me and probably the shop owners.
So this is central Hayward, isn't it? It's not hidden away anywhere, is it?
No.
Next door is the post office, yeah? The church up there. So this is plain sight, yeah?
Yes,
it's plain sight. And for the people who are listening to what we do, the connection with Oldham is...
well, the guy who was renting it at the time also stood as a Conservative councillor.
So at the time, the guy who was so at the time these girls were being groomed.
Yes,
the guy who rented this place stood as a Conservative councillor.
Yeah.
Did he get in? No.
No, I don't think he did get in.
For that.
What happened is, the padlock. There was only me who had the key. So they've either cut the padlock off, or somebody's given them a key to get into the upstairs area. Because at the time they was only renting the ground floor. They had no access upstairs because upstairs was basically derelict. So somebody had done that on purpose. And regarding the shop owner, he's got to have had knowledge because this door was right at the side of the kitchens. So if you think people coming into through this restaurant, you've only got to be given an extra set of keys. And how did they get people past them? You know, a busy takeaway. He's got to be involved or knowing the people, and plus it was also his family that was running the takeaway at the time. His brother-in-law and nephews were involved in the running of the takeaway. So these young girls have got to be coming past these people, or they've been given an extra set of keys to get in when the takeaway's been closed. You know, so you can make up your own mind on that one.
And what happened when you? Because you must have challenged this. You must have said, what's going on with these mattresses here?
When I came in and I saw the mattress on the floor, because I knew that they shouldn't have had access to the upper area because it was a fire risk. They were using the tin trays that they use for the takeaways as ashtrays. So each time as I came back, there was an extra mattress and another tray on the floor. Then I went back to whoever was involved. And look, this is going on. At first it went, ignore it. Then I came back when I saw the 3 mattresses and the one in the back room, I was told to mind my own business and never come back here again. Because I used to do the maintenance on the building.
What did you suspect?
I didn't know at the time, because none of this had come out at the time. You know, it was only after with all the other rubbish I'd had various other things, and when it came out into the paper, this is the takeaway. You know.
And it's not this now, is it? I mean, this has changed hands many times.
It's changed hands, yeah.
But the building might be owned by the same people.
Yeah, they might be owned by the same people.
Yeah. But look, it's next door to a post office. It's the bloody high street.
Yeah. Well, what about hiding it in plain sight, isn't it?
Yeah.
How would you know if it was a customer going into a takeaway or just, you know?
And this is where the young girls were. You know, this is the Hayward Centre. This is
where the upstairs. This is where the girls were raped.
Unbelievable. And you ask anyone? Did you ask anyone afterwards?
No. Basically, I was shut down.
You were told not to come back again?
Yeah. But basically, the marriage went pear-shaped after that, with a lot of issues at the moment. The same guy at the time also had the takeaway down there on the corner. Visionary.
So the same guy here also had another takeaway down.
Just across the road. Just across the road.
Wow.
It's a lovely. Is it a town? It's a lovely little town, isn't it? I mean, you know, on the facade, you know, it's just a northern working class town.
Don't forget, if they didn't bring the girls through the front entrance, they've also got the rear entrance to bring the girls in as well.
Murky, isn't it?
It's shocking when you think about what went on in here.
We'll go across and point it this way. So now there's a, you know.
Yeah, the left-hand window was another mattress in that room as well on the floor. It sort of wedged into like a shower area. In fact, if you come to the side here, you can actually see the door frame of the shower room it's just through the window.
Yeah.
And that's actually, you actually step down into this back room, and that's where the mattress was on an angle in the doorway.
How many girls? All of them came through here. Yeah.
Yeah, you can imagine, won't you?
Yeah. And
this time of night, when it is dark, this back street is virtually unused.
Yeah, it's dark, isn't it?
A bit of traffic.
You can imagine it, can't you? It becomes different, doesn't it, at night time? Yeah. Wow, unbelievable. Right, and you've been, I mean, so I've got this on tape. You contacted me yourself, didn't you? You contacted me yourself a couple of months ago, and you just wanted to share what had gone on, what you knew about, and.
Well, I actually gave a statement to a police officer, and basically he didn't take much notice of it anyway.
So you.
And it's through your website where I've actually, trying to get in a voice and letting people know actually what did go on and what has been hushed up.
So you went to the police after you saw it on the news?
Yeah, there was other things that went on after this regarding my private life, and I made a statement of what I saw here.
Yeah, but you went to the police. You made a statement about what you saw here.
Yes.
Which was the venue that was used.
Yes. And I told them exactly what I'd seen and what I knew. Because I knew that.
And at the time, so we're clear, so people are clear who are listening to us. At the time, this venue was rented by a Conservative councillor candidate in Oldham.
In Oldham, yes.
When I came into this, I didn't believe half the shit I was hearing myself. But the more you uncover, the more layers you see, the more dodgier and dodgier it gets.
Of course it is. It's only like people like you now that the actual, the story is coming out for everything.
Unbelievable. So the question is, who owns it now? Is it the same person, and what did they know? Exactly. Because the only people who were done were the guys who actually did the grooming, yeah? Not the guys whose venues perhaps they used, and whether they knew what was going on or not, or whether they,
They've got to have known what was going on. Like I said, it was padlocked. Nobody should have had access to the upstairs area. These people working in there, they know when the padlocks either been took off or changed. Or it's impossible not to know. I mean, if they didn't know, well, we'd give them an extra set of keys to gain access to the property.
And also, when you asked, because you went back and told them what was going on, in terms of this room is being used, it shouldn't be accessed, these mattresses, and they shut you down.
Yeah, they shut me down.
They shut you down, so they knew.
Mind your own business.
Mind your own business. So they knew what was going on at the time.
They did, yeah.
Wow, brave man. Really brave man. I appreciate you. I didn't want you on camera. But I wanted to, have people hear your own voice, because I think it makes a massive difference. Because there are people still claiming we're lying and we're making this up.
Well, is it still going on? This is what you've got to ask yourselves. Are your children the next victims?
Do not fear them.
Okay, so I hope you managed to hear that. I need to get a windshield for this little camera that it was the first time I took it out. I've got this little camera, well, it's in front of me actually, but I took it out and I met this lad, and he was authentic, he was real, and he used to do the maintenance on that takeaway, and that's the one that it's one of the takeaways. It's named, If you type it in Google and stuff, you'll see in Hayward, that bit takeaway is one of the takeaways where the children were taken upstairs and groomed and drugged and gang raped and then trafficked by Shabir Ahmed and his mates. He told me that takeaway at the time was in the hands of an individual that was also a prospective candidate for councillor in Oldham. I think he said it was Werner, I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. And I've done checked the names and cross-referenced, and it's true. So here we are in Oldham, where we've got another revelation separate to Shabir Ahmed, who was from Oldham and a Labour Party member in Oldham and an employee of Oldham Council, and they've still not sued me. So, we know this is true. We know all of those things are true. The Labour Party, Sean Fielding, Jim McMahon, they can hide it all they want, but that's true. Shabir Ahmed's links with the Labour Party are well known in Oldham, and his employment for Oldham Council is no longer being disputed. Shabir Ahmed's mate, guys, who went upstairs into that takeaway was run by, was in the hands of, he owned a couple of them, a prospective politician in Oldham who stood to be councillor. Now, this shouldn't shock any of you, because in Coldus, where all of this started, the convicted sex offender, yes, the convicted sex offender, friend of Abdul Jabbar, was happily stood next to Jim McMahon, thumbs up, with his red rosé on, because he was also a prospective Labour Party candidate in Coldust. So the Labour Party's links with these cartel figures and their associations with the grooming gangs, you wanted a connection, there's your connection. Okay? Shocking, isn't it? Because I didn't believe it. And then I had to go and check it again, find out who this guy was that was a meeting. And he's true. He told the truth. He was looking after that venue. He was cleaning it. The padlock had been broken upstairs. Once he reported it, he was told to go away. And worst, I think, he told the police about it. Now, work through this with me. I run a takeaway. Upstairs is padlocked. People are coming and going upstairs with young girls and raping them upstairs. And I'm the one who's running the takeaway downstairs. What's my involvement? It's definitely not nothing. Am I getting paid to rent out the room upstairs? Am I in on it? Should I not have reported it at the very least if I'm innocent and found out what was going on? Perhaps Sean Fielding or one of his investigators would like to look into that and investigate why it is that these individuals were also not punished. Because they weren't punished. I'm just going to check a few messages, and I'm way over. It's an hour and a half, so I'm going to look at a few messages, drink something, and if people want me to continue, I've got the other bit on Sean Fielding and the emails that were disputed. I think some people claimed I'd made it up again and it was false, so maybe I'll check some messages, and if people want me to carry on, I'll carry on. Otherwise, we can reschedule the next bit for another night. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to make sure Mark got all the time he needed. I think it's only fair that when people come on and step forward like that they're given every opportunity. So let's see. Dougie wants me to carry on. That's because Dougie sent me a text message asking me if his name was on the list of documents I've got. Sorry, Dougie, I didn't get back to you because I was just I was having my tea, and then I wanted to get this stuff set up. Okay, let's carry on.
Here I am in Hayward, about to meet...
That's not what I want. Just give me 1 second. What I want to bring up is... It'll come to me, give me 1 second. Here we go. That's what I want to bring up. So let me see if you guys can see it all. And I want to start at the beginning and work my way up. So just give me 1 second. Okay, let's start. Let's get it big enough so you can see it. Okay, that'll do. Let's start with the first email. Okay, people can see this, yeah. And what we've got here is, so I just need to delete other things so I can see it as well. So just give me 1 second. Okay, so what we've got here is the first of a series of emails sent on the 23rd of August. Now, first thing to understand is it's sent from Councillor S. Fielding. You can see it there. It's from Councillor S. Fielding. You can also see it's from his oldham.gov.uk address. So there is no doubt whatsoever that this is the email from Sean Fielding from his Oldham Council address. And I have found your name on the university website. I do not think you're the right person to contact, but hopefully you can direct me to who he is. A researcher is currently engaged in a social media smear and harassment campaign against me, the council, and a number of my colleagues. The campaign has led the individual in question to line up with a number of rather unpleasant individuals, including, and remember this, criminals, fraudsters, and racist bullies from the far right in Oldham. Ignore the middle bit, blah, blah, blah. He reckons his life's under threat and all the rest of it. As if, Sean, stop talking nonsense. Given the person I'm referring to describes themselves as a researcher at the university in the biography, blah, 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 please could you advise the best mechanism by which to report this so it can be considered by the university? Sean Fielding, leader of the council. Do you see it? Sean Fielding, leader of the council. He's written that from his council email address and he's signed it off, leader of the council. And then, so there is no doubt, the website, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram is embedded. All of those clicks take you to Oldham Council's appropriate pages. And all of that is, you can also see Civic Centre West Street, the council standard stuff at the you know. There would be no doubt anyone reading that email, this email, has come from the leader of Oldham Council, and the importance is high, and his subject title is Researcher Conduct. Well, it's sent on the 23rd of... sorry, I'll put Ian's comment up. It was sent on the 23rd, Ian, so you can decide yourself, yeah? If you was quarantined at the time. But you can see he sent it in his capacity as the leader of the council. There is no doubt whatsoever about that. This is the response the next day from the university. I am writing in response to your recent email to my colleague. I am sorry and horrified to hear of the difficulties you have experienced. Horrified. If you can let me know the details of the individual perpetrating to be a researcher as well as the offending post. We will then investigate the matter and determine appropriate next steps. So you can see the university have responded in the middle of August, horrified that the leader of Oldham Council has gone to them with these horrific allegations. On the 25th, so the day after, he replies, "Thank you for getting in touch so quickly. The council and particularly me have been the subject of a smear campaign at the hands of an individual known as Raja Mir for a considerable period of time. So straight away, the first name he mentions, after referring to criminals, fraudsters and bullies from the far right, is my name. And not just my name. He says an individual known as." Now, Sean, I know you hang around with Arud Shah and some of her mates, and I know they go by funny, strange nicknames, and it's known as Irish this or Scottish that or whatever it is. Sean, lad, my name is Raja Mir. It's been my name since forever. I'm not an individual known as. That's my name, you bloody incompetent moron. Now, you clearly, by saying an individual known as, you're trying to make it sound worse than it is. So, he has made allegations. I've not made allegations, Sean. I've presented evidence and I've asked questions. I know it's difficult for you to understand, these complex political terms perhaps, but I've asked questions and I've presented facts. And so Sean, just to get some, get his boys lined up, he's claiming GMP are involved, and I've made up, cover up by the GMP and the BBC are all involved. There is no evidence to support any of this. Can you read that again? Please read that. There is no evidence to support any of this. Yeah. And I've been apparently interviewed under caution by Greater Manchester Police in relation to my campaign. No, I haven't. I was interviewed. I volunteered for interview with Greater Manchester Police regarding a malicious complaint fabricated by Debbie Abrahams. And Debbie, I'm here. Yeah, I know you're listening. Sue me. Malicious, fabricated complaint by you, Debbie Abrahams. I've gone to the police with it and I want you arrested. So there's no doubt whatsoever what I want out of this. And it was to do with the Misrepresentation of Peoples Act. It wasn't to do with my campaign. It was because Debbie Abrahams had claimed that the Misrepresentation of Peoples Act is that I somehow tried to adversely impact upon an election. Good luck with that. Anyway, let's carry on. The social media pages, the websites where he circulates his allegations are here. Again, they're not allegations. Go and have a look at it. Facts and questions. Puts my Twitter there, my Facebook, my personal Facebook, and also the Recusant Nine Facebook that we're on here now, and also the webpage. You will see that much of the recent activity has descended into a personal abuse of me. It's not descended into personal abuse of you at all, Sean Fielding. I'm continuing to behave as I always have done. The problem is, you have decided to behave in a manner that brings your position into disrepute, and I, as a member of the public, have every right to raise awareness of this, such as you going off on holiday to Lanzarote, just as the coronavirus was spiking and we were close to lockdown. So, what? The social media pages and websites, blah blah blah. The researcher, so his name's Jane. And Jane sent me this, by the way, so it's fine. So Jane sent me this because she's gone through a torrid time. So he's given some context as to why Jane might be supporting me. And that's because she's opposed planning application that was granted permission in summer 2019. So I think Jane's part of the Save Our Valleys campaign. I've never met Jane, by the way. And I have had a Twitter exchange with her before I got hold of this. However, her grievances with the council have led her to recirculate the child grooming allegations via her Twitter account and also engage in general online abuse and harassment on me on a range of issues not limited to this. So he's accusing her of harassment and abuse. And he's attached some of what's said, right? So that's what is done. Now let me bring up what is attached. I think before I'll move to the. I'm not doing very well with this. Give me 1 second. Let me zoom out. Okay, I will. So that's their response on the 26th. Dear Sean, thank you for providing the further details. We'll deal with the matter internally. So let's have a look at the further details. I think it's worthwhile having a look at the further details. All on council time, yeah. All whilst he's on furlough and being paid his full whatever. It starts off with this. Raja Mia was previously the chief executive of 2 free schools in Oldham, Manchester. The schools failed and closed following damning Ofsted reports. It has been widely reported that there was evidence of financial corruption at the school and an investigation is ongoing. Malicious, fraudulent, libelous statement. Completely false, but we'll carry on. Mr. Mia has continued his involvement in education and most recently was reported that has been secretly blacklisted by the DfE. I have the letters from the DfE. I was not secretly blacklisted, but you carry on. I was not blacklisted of any form. And instructed not to be involved in education again. False. Despite he continued to be involved in a supply teacher agency, which itself has also been reported as being financially mismanaged. Wrong. This is the bit where it gets is clear, and remember, he's doing this as the leader of the council. And this is why you, all of you, as Oldham taxpayers, are going to get shafted, because I'm going to sue him. I'm going to sue the council because he's doing this in the capacity as leader of the council and sharing this, and he shared it to other people as well. It is believed that Mr. Mia's spear campaign against the council and an individual associated with it is motivated by his desire to divert his attention from his own criminal behaviour and corruption. That is the leader of Oldham Council in his capacity as the leader of Oldham Council referring to me as a criminal and corrupt individual. And then he links these documents to his left-wing friends in the Manchester Evening News, Jennifer Williams, who was forced to admit that she assumed quotes, so she made up stories about me. The Guardian guy who hates free schools, and Schools Week, who are currently being sued, and Oldham Times, who, if I can be bothered with suing them, I don't even think they've got any money to be sued by. I'll get round to it. But there you go. So that's, first of all, so he's setting the context. This is a clear attack on me. You can see it's a clear attack on me. Yes, Sean, it is slander. It's libel, you know. And so let's have a look. Let's have a look what his particular gripes are. Gripe number 1. Remember the racist, the far-right bullies that he referred to? He lifts a small extract out of an article, out of a Twitter exchange. Here is an example of a racist tweet liked by Mr. Erok. That's right. Mr. Erok, he reckons, liked a racist tweet. Here is a social media post from him in support of Tommy Robinson. He's neither a racist nor a Tommy Robinson fan, but, you know, it's a disgrace. So straight away, he's gone for Paul after he's gone for me. Mrs. Barker is frequently engaged with Paul Boots Erok. The above was a candidate for the newly formed Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth party in Oldham, East and Saddleworth at the 2019 general election. He is openly racist and a far-right Tommy Robinson sympathiser. He was recently interviewed under caution for allegedly smearing a political opponent online with allegations of child grooming, and in the case is currently with the Crown Prosecution Service. You can see what he's trying to do here. Yeah, but here we go. He is openly racist. Paul Boots has sat in my house with my 5-year-old daughter. Paul Boots is well known in the Asian community in Glodick, Westwood, Werneth. I don't need to defend Paul Boots, but I feel compelled to say something. This is the leader of Oldham Council contacting Manchester University, referring to an individual as openly racist and a Tommy Robinson fan. Why? What has this got to do with Jane? Because Jane retweeted this. Oldham Council are refusing my FOI requests. You know, FOI requests like how many postal votes there were in the town? Or FOI requests like how many schools or which schools did your paedophile teacher work in? Or why, you know, what sort of investigations were done after Rod Blythe was found to be a child, you know, convicted for child sex offences? She retweeted that. What are they trying to hide? As a member of Oldham, as a person who lives in this town, that is a legitimate question to be asked. What are they trying to hide? Yeah, Kaiser's seen some of it. In fact, Kaiser's helped me a lot with my responses, so I need to acknowledge that here. But he's seen all the paperwork from the DFE and how I was cleared and stuff. It was just a smear campaign, and it's increasingly more and more clear why it was a smear campaign. Okay, next one. Responding to a tweet by anonymous account Cheeky Lass, which I recently blocked. Well, come on, that's not a surprise, really, is it, Sean? You're blocking most of the town. She alleged that the council is concealing something following us advising Rajami in writing that he was a vexatious contact and the council would not respond to any more of his requests, as it places an unreasonable demand on our resources. I think I put in 5 FOI requests over 18 months, so I'm not sure how that is an unreasonable demand on the resources. They're just questions they don't want to answer. He reckons this is permitted within the regulations about freedom of information. The ICO will disagree with you, Sean. And if the ICO don't disagree with me, people of the town will disagree with you. Because we have a right to know. We have a right to know how many postal votes there were. We have a right to know under what circumstances Glodick Bass was sold to the Ghazali Trust. We have a right to know what sort of land was sold to Councillor Saeed Mushtaq's brother. And how much for. And what did Cheeky Lass say? Isn't this just disgusting? Oldham Council, I'm not sure this will be the end of this. Look at that. Jane's responding to a lady who's said that it can't be the end of it. This is a refusal to engage with the public and try and sweep things under the carpet, which will be the end of this council. How is that? What is Sean Fielding trying to do here in his capacity as leader of the council? I'll tell you what he's trying to do. He's trying to prevent one of our key fundamental human rights, freedom of speech. This complaint just here is against the Human Rights Act. Sean Fielding has breached the Human Rights Act right here. I'll carry on. Here we go. She responded to a tweet by Raja Mir inciting abuse. How did I incite abuse? I stated a fact. I'm not inciting abuse. For taking a holiday, which he alleges was against FCU advice, again without evidence. Of course it was against FCU advice, you moron. When you came back, you had to self-isolate for 2 weeks. Are you thick? You really are thick, aren't you? I really do think this boy is thick. You know, because of course it was against FCO advice, because when you came back, you were self-isolating for 2 weeks. You went somewhere the government tells you not, they'd rather you didn't go. That's what advice means. But putting that to one side, you left this town on the, as you know, just in a crisis. You left our town in a crisis, mate. You took a 2-week holiday to Lanzarote. And what did Jane say? Did she abuse you? Did she say anything untoward? Did she swear at you? No. I despair of our current leadership, all missing in action over past couple of weeks when we needed strong leadership. Not just Councillor Fielding, but Carolyn Wilkins and Arood Shah too. So she's not even picking on you, mate. She's saying all of you are missing. The whole lot next to useless. If full town has to go into lockdown, there will be hell to pay. Who disagrees with this woman saying this? Angela Rayner applauded Oldham Council and Councillor Sean Fielding. I have done, Kaiser. I have openly challenged at the beginning of the show to say these actions for her to defend Sean's actions. I challenge Angela Rayner or Jim McMahon to come and challenge Sean's actions, because this is a clear violation of the Human Rights Act. There's more. Responding to a tweet by Paul Boots Errock with abuse about me. Mr. Errock is the leader of the Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth Party, a far-right organisation. So before he called him racist, remember? Now, Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth is a far-right organisation. This is not the words of Sean Fielding. This is the words of Oldham Council. Because when Sean Fielding communicated this, he communicated this as leader of the council. As leader of the council, he is claiming Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth, and thereby anyone who supports Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth, is far right. He's claiming the party is a far right organisation. I've had drinks with every one of them. There's nothing far right about them. He is also an outspoken racist. So twice, outspoken racist, far right. And what did Paul do? Was there anything far right about what he tweeted? No. He retweeted what Sean Fielding had said in his arrogance. When he was saying, well, anywhere could be another Leicester if the situation is not managed properly. But fortunately in Oldham, we are doing. Yeah, we managed it so well that we went to top of the COVID charts. And what did Jane do? She responded. Both Captain Underpants and the COVID Queen missing in action. What an embarrassment they are. How is that abuse? He brings it on himself to be called Captain Underpants. He had his girlfriend hold up his ripped underpants, put it on Twitter, and shared a sexual fantasy, days after he was forced to announce an inquiry into the grooming gangs. Yeah, I'm going to put some comments up because I think these are right. Sorry, Rocky, I had to put that up because it made me giggle. Yeah, I think so. Because this is Oldham Council referring to Proud of Oldham and Saddleworth as a far-right organisation. It's not Sean Fielding doing it, it's Oldham Council. Now this is where it gets interesting. A bit more interesting for me anyway. Making an unsubstantiated allegation of financial corruption against me in response to an Oldhamite tweet. This was the 19 million shortfall. And what we're asking for is, well, what have you done with the money you've already got? And Jane said, the money has been spent and consultant lawyers and specialist financiers are all taking cuts. This is to do with the £304 million eco centre. The glamping caravan, wherever in Glodick and Fitnell. She has a right to hold that opinion. She has a right as an Oldham citizen to oppose £304 million and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren left to pay off debts of this folly, of some glamping sites in Glodick. She has every right to hold that opinion. Again, blatant violation of her human rights. And then he picks on my mate. I mean, I missed this one out, but this is interesting because my friend Moyab, and he is my friend. We grew up together. He lived next door to me. He was one of my oldest friends. He is a senior HMRC inspector. Mr. Uddin is currently under investigation by the Lib Dems. I know that. I shared that. You complained, didn't you, Sean? You called him a far-right supporter, a Nazi, and all of those things, didn't you? So he's reported him to his employer HMRC as well. So as well as Jane, who works for the university, here's Moya Uddin, senior tax inspector, senior HMRC inspector. He's complained about him as well. In his capacity, no doubt, as leader of the council. He's a close associate. No, he's my mate. Close, and involved in the smear campaign against Oldham Council. So how is Moyab involved in a smear campaign against Oldham Council? He's just seen ITV News out taking video shots. You know what's coming next, Oldham Council. So this was ITV News out and about taking video shots of the lead up to Oldham being giving additional lockdown sort of restrictions and stuff. How is that? Someone show me what that and how that can result in a complaint to his employer at HMRC. Someone explain that to me. The leader of Oldham Council complained to the university about Jane Barker. The leader of the Oldham Council complaining to HMRC about Moya Uddin because he tweeted something. Is Councillor Fielding going to shout its barefaced lies? Really? That's something to complain about? There is document here. Okay, Chris. He did. I found that to be really offensive. Okay. It gets worse for Sean. Yeah, honestly, it does get worse for Sean. She retweeted an abusive tweet from me, apparently. Apparently this is abusive. I see that their duties include being paid to like and retweet the Cabbage Patch Kid account post. Okay, so he's hired these two ladies as new communications officers. I think I leaked it so that they were paid between them the best part of £100,000, which is denying, but they're on £100,000 between them, or a bit more actually. Once you've figured in all the added costs and stuff. And sorry, I'm going to put this up. I wonder if he's had either of them hold up his ripped underpants yet. You brought that on yourself, mate. You put up your ripped underpants. You had your girlfriend, as the leader of the council, you had your girlfriend put up your ripped underpants whilst you shared your sexual fantasy. I know you might want to forget it, but that's what you did. And as for the Cabbage Patch Kid, again, whilst people were losing their livelihoods, whilst people were losing family members, you put up a picture of you with some very short shorts on, with I think it was a can of beer next to you, lapping up the sun, growing your cabbages. You did that. I didn't do that. You did that. Angela Rayner. He's doing a good job, is he? I dares you, Angela Rayner. I dare you to come out and say you agree with your mate, because I know he was your agent in the election. Come out, come on, dares you, Angela. Come out and say that you agree with the actions of Sean Fielding writing to the employers of Oldham citizens trying to get them in trouble on council time with this nonsense. And what had Jane done? Here, another one of Jane's, one of his complaints. She liked one of my posts to do with the young girl in Barrow. The case has been hijacked by the far right. I don't care if the case has been hijacked by the far right. I care, and so does Jane, that someone did this to a teenage girl who's claimed she's been trafficked to Oldham, you dickhead. And sorry, I had to swear, because look at this girl. That's what I care about. And the case is more complex than you and I know, but people in Barrow have now been arrested for grooming. And the reporter that you're defending, the journalist, has been exposed for, she's been run out of town for the way she wrote her stories. And she was convicted for, was it cocaine? She was driving while high on cocaine with a child in the car. And again, the reference to the far right. Again, the reference to the far right. And he didn't like this either. He didn't like that she commented on the fact that the man leading the renowned Dr. Mark Peel, as appointed by Sean Fielding, who he still refuses to say why Mark Peel left, stepped down. The third paragraph says it all. So the third paragraph in the report says it all. That's her statement. That's all she said. She said nothing else apart from that. Responding to a tweet and insinuating that I am somehow involved in a cover-up of child grooming because I was unavailable for comment about the resignation of a consultant at the council. No, she's responding to the tweet to say, here you go. Why is the leader of the council not issuing a statement? It's not that you were unavailable. What were you? On holiday? Growing your cabbages? Out for a sophisticated drink? Hanging out with Angela Rayner? What were you? How can the leader of the council not be giving a statement as to why his own appointed lead investigator refused to carry out his own inquiry into the grooming and gang rape of our children? She's not insinuating you're somewhere involved in a cover-up. She's saying you should be giving a statement. I'm going to put this up because I agree with you. I'd rather be a member of the far right than a pedo protector. I don't think the far right would have me, but I'd rather be a member of the far right than a pedo protector. Retweeting an image of Jim McMahon and unsubstantiated allegations that he's involved. Hey, what is unsubstantiated about the failure of Jim McMahon to explain his role in the activities and actions that led up to Kaiser getting sacked and the investigation there that's currently with parliamentary standards of the parliamentary commissioner who suspended it, but it's still sat there because no one wants to see Jim McMahon fall, because if he falls, all hell breaks loose in the Labour Party. And what's wrong with asking questions over that now infamous email where the funeral of Lee Rigby was clearly used to cover up news of a grooming gang? That's not unsubstantiated, nor is it an allegation. I think that's true. They have a habit of getting their IT department to try and access people's. Yep, I agree with you. I think there's one more, is it? Oh, a couple more. Remember Oldham Council and Oldham Athletics? £6 million they gave them. There's never been an explanation about that £6 million. I asked a question. The police apparently investigated this as well. She retweeted that. She retweeted wanting to know where £6 million of public money in Oldham had gone. Yeah. Do we not have a right, Jim McMahon, to know where £6 million of our money went? What's the question? When will Jim from Oldham issue a statement clarifying what happened to £6 million of our money that was handed over whilst leader of Oldham Council? How is that unreasonable? She retweeted this. She retweeted this. She retweeted having an opinion. Whilst leader of Oldham Council, Jim McMahon promoted Oldham to businesses as a place of cheap labour. He expanded zero-hour contracts while increasing the salary of its executives. Oh, and there's also a secret offshore tax avoidance bank account. All of that's factual. All of that's in the public domain. There's nothing inaccurate in that statement. Is she now not allowed, as a citizen of Oldham, to ask questions? She retweeted this. In plain sight, in the midst of a grooming gang, it's one of my articles, with a statement that says, if we start making arrests, we wouldn't know where to stop. Would probably end up arresting half the men in Coldust. That is a witness statement that was given to me by someone who was involved in protecting girls around telecars when telecars were being investigated, and a young child, he picked up a young girl and rescued her because she was in a mess. He'd spoken to the police, and these were the words that the police had responded with. And senior councillors at Oldham Council used council meeting to mock me, yes, before launching a re-election campaign beside a convicted sex offender. Abdul Jabbar, sue me if you want, Abdul, but everyone's seen the pictures. You launched your re-election campaign alongside the former chairman of Oldham Central Mosque, who was also a former Labour Party candidate. But there's no escaping it. He's a convicted sex offender. Yet you decided to stand alongside him and launch a re-election campaign. Why isn't Sean Fielding sacking you or suspending you? There you go. Rise of the cartels. She retweeted it. I believe in the cartels. I think most of the people in our town now know whether the cartels are true or not. She retweeted it. This is my opinion. The reason is obvious. Votes mattered more to them. Am I the only one who thinks that the Labour Party turned a blind eye to our children being groomed, raped and sold? Because they didn't matter? Because white working class girls didn't matter? Or they mattered less than the block Asian vote that keeps these people in power? Am I the only one who has that opinion? Retweeting the unsubstantiated allegations of child grooming. No, mate, factually provided information. Again, on postal vote fraud, I gave evidence. Blah, blah, blah. And he's calling the Oldham Eye account racist. Now, I don't know if the Oldham Eye account is racist or not, but I know I'm not the Oldham Eye account, and I know in every engagement Oldham Eye has ever had with me, he's never or she's never shown anything racist. Apparently, she retweeted a fabricated claim from Councillor Arud Shah that she'd endorsed my murder. Here I am on record once again being very, very clear, because I've shared the Facebook post that Arud Shah liked and endorsed and commented on. Arud Shah endorsed my murder. Jane unfortunately held the opinion that Angela Rayner is failing child grooming victims in Oldham. So you're going to report her for having that opinion. What about the neglected child victims of sexual exploitation in Oldham? Debbie, I spoke to a victim's family last week from County Hill School. And her position is that the staff knew what was going on. The teachers knew what was going on. Maybe you should, swing back round from Kashmir, go up to the teachers at Waterhead Academy who were involved in County Hill School at the time and ask them. And the police know this happened because the police took these girls home after they were raped. Not said a word, have you, Miss? And this one, engagement with a tweet. So there's a guy called Whistleblower. It's called Pete Jackson. Pete's a good guy. Self-proclaimed whistleblower. See, self-proclaimed whistleblower, agreeing with his assessment that Maggie Oliver should run for Mayor of Greater Manchester. So she's agreed. For Maggie to run for Mayor of Greater Manchester, and he thinks that is something to complain about. Do you see? I'd vote for Maggie Oliver if she stood to be GM Mayor. People of Oldham, this is your leader. This is what he's been spending his time doing. He's been hounding, harassing, victimising hard-working, honest people of this town for daring to have an opinion that he doesn't agree with. He's trying to get him sacked as far as I'm concerned. But have a look. She wants an independent audit of our council with the involvement of the National Audit Office. How is that? How is that? How is there anything wrong with that statement? She circulated my blog from her own Twitter account. Hold on, so you're telling me that she can't circulate my blog from her own account. This is a violation of the Human Rights Act. It is black and white. Yes, Jane, Kaiser, loads of you. Yes, absolutely. I'd vote for Maggie Oliver as mayor. I wouldn't. And Kaiser says something about her being a conservative. Kaiser, I wouldn't care if she was a Lib Dem or an independent. I'd vote for that woman. I'd even vote for her if she stood as a Labour candidate, but we know she wouldn't because Burnham's there, so I'm saved from having to vote Labour. But look at that. And this last one is disgraceful. Number 1 at the top of the list. Sharing a tweet by Pete Jackson, a man dismissed from Greater Manchester Police. Pete Jackson was not dismissed from Greater Manchester Police. He retired with honours after 31 years of selfless service to the police force. So this is what he shared. Back to this. So all that was his further details. Sean, the bully, because he's a bully, then added this nonsense in with Neil Wilby, who's now friends with, because I said I'd seen evidence of a number of cases. So he wrote back to the university, and apparently, as you can see, he's got a parallel complaint against those who have been engaged. So he's got parallel complaints. So there you go. In his own words, he's complained about multiple individuals. And he's, the threat, there's at some point, there are consequences to circulating unsubstantiated allegations in social media. No, mate, at some point, there are consequences for being a pillock of a politician. I note that Mrs. Barker has now set up a separate Twitter account and so assume that this matter has been discussed with her. I would also like to bring to your attention that details of my complaint appear to have been shared with Raj Amir. No. So what he's now saying is, because I've complained about her. He's complained about her to the university. And most of it's to do with me, or Paul. He reckons she's come to me. Jane never came to me. Other people have come to me, which is the referencing I was making. Other people have come to me about complaints you've made. Unsubstantiated harassment, malicious complaints you've made, Sean Fielding, in your position as leader of Oldham Council. Look at her, trying to get her sacked, trying to get her in more trouble. She's gone running to someone else. Look at this. I don't know whether this would be considered appropriate by the university, her sharing information with me. Well, guess what? She shared all of this with me after the investigation has been finished. And look at this response. This is a, sorry for swearing, this is a get stuffed response from the university. This is are you really the leader of Oldham Council? Sending us all this stuff and following it up? This is a violation of human rights. This is libel. This is the reason why Sean Fielding should be suspended immediately. Wow. Sorry, we've been on for over 2 hours. I didn't mean it to be over 2 hours, but let me bring a couple of scenes up and put some points up that people have said. Just give me 1 second. I just need to open all my windows again. Yes, please, if you can, donate. If you can, get on the Patreon page. Give me £1 a month if you can. All of this costs money, and I'm not too proud to ask for help to keep this going, because without this platform, I don't think many of us would know really about what's been going on. So that's what we're up to. Let me just take that off. Let me put some comments up. You're right, Paul. They are breaches of Articles 10 and 11 of the Human Rights Act, if you remember it right. I remember it right. And they are definitely breaches of the Human Rights Act. Pete Jackson is a top bloke. What Pete Jackson did was his son was badly beaten, and the police failed his son. Couldn't even bother to check the CCTV. So he went and did it himself, and then complained about the police officers who hadn't been doing their job. So that's Pete Jackson's story. There's nothing dodgy about that man. He's a decent bloke. He's a decent, hard-working bloke who continues to serve the country and serve our communities, even after he's a retired policeman, left after 31 years of service. And Sean Fielding claims he was dismissed. And wow. David, it is embarrassing. But you know what's even more dangerous, David? I'm hearing from sources that, and I think Dr. Carolyn Wilkins cannot say he's done this in his personal capacity, because he hasn't. You can see all the email exchanges. He's done it in his capacity as leader of the council. Unfortunately, David, what I'm hearing is from various people. I can't substantiate it because I don't know if it's true or not, but an investigation needs to take place. I'm hearing people in the private sector. He's named other names, David, and I'm hearing that people might have lost their jobs as a consequence of him naming other names. So I'm sorry to say that and bring that to you, but he's clearly sent this out. I know of 4 people. Sorry, Dougie, you asked a question, didn't you? I know of 4 people he has sent these complaints out to. At least 4 people. And I know within the 4 people he sent those complaints out to, he's referenced at least half a dozen other people. And that's my worry. So of the other people he's referenced in the, has news got to their employers as well? Nah, Sarah, I agree with you. Can you imagine being covertly investigated because the leader of the council has got in touch with your employer and being accused of being a far-right supporter? Or that somehow you're connected with me, who's apparently a criminal? Or with Paul Boots? Or all proud of Oldham and Saddleworth and you're a racist? Or far-right? I am suing him. The university, what's he called? Entwistle has got back in touch, and he's responded something about the council have got to appoint, their insurers have got to appoint lawyers. So it's going to cost you guys, it's going to cost the Oldham taxpayer a lot of money. And I challenge anyone to look at that, what I've just shared, and there's 3 more that I know of, and I've got the stuff, or I'm getting the stuff more and more every day. I challenge anyone to look at that and say he has not libelled me. I hope so, Rocky. I hope a group case is put forward. I really, really hope so. And this is where I want to leave it, I think, is how embarrassing is this person? How can he be the leader of Oldham Council? How? How can this man be allowed to be the leader of Oldham Council? How much longer? How much longer do we have to put up with this? Last question. He's going to have to give him. Paul, they can't hide this. How many people's lives has this man tried to ruin in his capacity as leader of Oldham Council? How many? 4, 5, 6, 10, 20? I'm done. Thank you. Yeah, longer than the hour I planned. But thank you for staying with us. And hopefully I see you next week where, yeah, there's another, yeah, there's more. There's absolutely loads more for next week. Good night. Thanks. Thank you very, very much.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.